Hey everyone, I'm Heather. Welcome back to my channel, and we are starting a yearly reading vlog right now. You'll be seeing this at the end of the year. Today is January 10th. Yes, today is January 10th. So this is the very beginning of 2023, but you won't be seeing this until later on in the year. I wanted to do a year-long video for the BuzzFeed Readathon that goes on every year, and I also wanted to put a twist on it where I let my Instagram followers choose my buzzword reading picks. So in January, the words are life and death. The buzzwords are life and death. So where did that book go? There it is. So I decided to give my Instagram followers The Death of Evie OG and the option for the Bookish Life of Nina Hill. And here is the little graphic that I put. It's very cute. And the winner of that graphic is this. So I've been reading, I'm about halfway through The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, and I am super excited about this video. So let me tell you a little bit about this book. So this book is about a woman named Nina Hill, and she is a very bookish person. She doesn't like people. She's very introverted. She has a group of friends, but she doesn't like to put herself out there. She's also in a couple of book clubs. She's made them. She's also a part of this trivia group, and there is this other group that's also in the trivia world where they just travel around and they do trivia in their city. But there's also this other group, and there is a guy named Tom in that group. She really is attracted to Tom, but he and her don't really get along because they're rivals. They're rivals, but it's not like a hate to love or anything like that. It's more of like a rivalry story in the trivia world. But Nina also has another twist that comes along where she finds out that she has a father. She knew that she had a father, but she just didn't know who her father was. He was never in her life, and then he up and dies, and she is given some of his fortune. And then she meets her family, and she realizes that she has brothers and sisters. So there's a lot of different things that are going on in Nina Hill's life, and you're like halfway through, you really see her kind of come out of her shell and open up to people, which she's not used to doing, which I find very endearing. I also connect with Nina a lot in that way too. And one of my goals this year is to kind of open myself up to meeting new people. So she is kind of the inspiration here. She's very dry, she's very witty, she has a great sense of humor. I've been laughing a lot, and it's also very heartwarming. So there's a lot of love in this story, and it's a cute book so far. So there's that. But that is the first round of January, or that is the first round of this reading vlog. Of course, I will fill you in again when we get to the end of this book, but I just wanted to let you know this is what this video is all about, and I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you hit that subscribe button before you leave. So I'll see you in the next clip. Here to update you on this video, and I ended up giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's not that I didn't like the book, it's just that there were some things that were lacking at the end, like diving deeper into Tom and Nina's relationship, because it has a little romance in it. It's not totally a romance book, but it does have a little romance in it, and the romance was typical. It was a happily ever after, but at one point in the book they were together, then something happened and they weren't together, and then they were back together again, and it just happened boom boom boom. Like, there was really no discussion as to what happened. And if there's going to be a romance in a book, it needs to, in my opinion, it needs to be dived into a little bit more, and that was just lacking for me. There was also some relationships that I wanted a little bit more of, like Lydia and Nina at the very end. They started to get close, but then the book just ended. And Lydia is Nina's niece, by the way. And I don't know, there was just some things that were lacking. This book is super quirky. It's a lot of quirky characters. It has a lot of dry humor. It has all of those things that I really like in a book, but it just lacked a little bit more. So 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's not a horrible rating, but just wanted to let you know that. Now, the next book that we're going, or the next 2 books that we're going to be going against each other, are the February books for this particular video, and the picks are right here. I don't know what's gonna who's gonna win yet, but I just wanted to show you that they're gonna be right here. And the buzzword for the month of February is verb, like a verb, action verb, linking verb, helping verb, those things, you know. So yeah, so verbs. Here are some books, like I said, and then we're gonna jump right into it. Not right into it, when y'all pick whatever, when people pick what they want me to read. It is February, and my Instagram followers were given two choices. Let me find the book. They were given choice between Must Love Books and Secrets We Share to go along with the buzzword for a verb. So action, linking, helping, whatever. I chose action. So Secrets We Share, sharing secrets, and then Must Love Books, loving is the action. And my Instagram followers chose Secrets We Share. So I am going to start reading this, and it is at the end of February, so I might have to cheat a little bit and start reading this book almost at the very end of February. Well, like today is the 22nd and I haven't started reading it yet, but I'm going to start reading it. I might not finish it before February is over, but the point is I'm reading this because Instagram people chose it, and if you're not following us on Instagram, you really need to, because we have a good time over there. You get to pick what I read for the Buzzwordathon for the entire year, so I'll check it in with you when I'm 50% in. Here to check in with you and tell you that I finished this book, and I am giving it 3.5 stars. So this book had a lot of twists and turns. It was following some really intriguing people. We're following Natalie and her sister Glenn, and they have a family secret. Their dad was murdered when they were younger, and a person was arrested for it, but nobody ever believed that that person ever did it. And there was just a lot of questions about that. But fast forward, they're in their 30s, 40s, and now Glenn's family has started to be attacked. And first, Glenn's daughter Mavis finds a dead body. Natalie is a detective at the time, so she is the one that, you know, is on the case as well. And then that's when the story gets really twisty and turny. There's a lot of people in here, which is something that I had a hard time with, because there's a lot of people. I'm used to a lot of characters in my stories, but there are so many people in here, and it was really hard to like keep it all straight. And I was surprised at the very end with one of the things that happened. But by then I was just ready for it to be over, because my brain was just like, it is a lot. But not to say I did not like this book. It was just it's a shorter book. It's like 293 pages, 296, something like that. But it's a lot. It's like a whiplash. There is actually something on here that says whiplash of twists and turns, and I agree with that. But in my opinion, not all of it was good. Not all of it was a good whiplash. But I digress. It was an okay book. It was not a bad book. It was not my absolute favorite. 3.5 stars is not a bad. That's a C. He's still passing. So just filling you in on that. So my next round of goodies was between Secrets in the Dark by Darcy Coates or The Secret Bridesmaid, because March's word is secrets. I could have picked the other one, but my Instagram followers picked it for me. So we're going to be reading one of these two books. Here's my little poll thing. And the winner was Secrets in the Dark by Darcy Coates. And I'm super excited about this. I love Darcy Coates. Darcy Coates is one of my favorite horror authors. And Hunted by her is like my absolute favorite horror book. So super excited to get into this. And when I'm 50% in, I will let you know. This is a honking book. It is a big old book. And it's over, well, maybe it's not that big. Okay, it's over 400 pages. So it's a pretty big book for a horror book. And I know that it's the second in a series, but I don't think that it matters. So we'll see. It's very bright. Okay, so I just laid down to go to bed, right? And then I remembered that I got halfway through this last night, more than halfway, and I needed to update you on it because I haven't updated you in a while, and I just shot your bird, and I'm sorry. But I am really enjoying this. It was slow start at first, and I was kind of like that, but then I got the audiobook for it, and the audiobook really helped. And it's just like, I think the hollows are kind of like zombie-ish. Like, they don't call them zombies, you know, but I get the feeling that they're zombies because they like eat people, and they eat each other too, and they don't have a brain. Like, they have a brain, but they don't use their brain. They're not human, but they're hollow, which is why they're called hollows. It just clicked in my brain. It just clicked. So that's why they're called the hollows, because they just like run around and attack people and eat them, and then like eat each other. Yep. And they're just like Claire and what's his face? Doran, or whatever his name is. They're trying to just survive, and they're trying to find Claire's sister Beth. So this is the second book in a series, so that's all I'm gonna say. But just know it's like a lot of like running around trying to survive, them talking, them on the road trying to survive, man. It's just like, it's a whole lot of surviving. Whole lot. Yeah, it's very fast paced now. It's getting there. It's going. And like I said, I was about to lay down and read, and then I forgot that I forgot to update you on this book. Okay, there's my update. Oh, by the way, I'll go ahead and tell you about the 2 books that I got people to pick for April, because it's almost April. And where are they? So the 2 books that I offered to people, y'all, this is not a good lighting situation. Twisted Love by Anna Hong, or Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. First book in a series, second book in a series. It was neck and neck on Instagram, right? Here's the little thing. I forgot to take a screenshot of the actual percentages, but this was in the 50s, this was in the 40s. It was like neck and neck there for a while. And this got chosen, so I'm gonna read this for April. Just letting you know. Hello, finished this book last night, gave it 4 stars. The beginning of it was a little slow for me, but then about, what page was it? About 100 pages in, it really picked up. And I also got the audiobook for this because I was getting bored. The audio narrator did a really good job. But the internal thoughts of this book with Claire got on my nerves. Because, yeah, they just like popped up out of nowhere. Because this is in 3rd person. So we weren't really getting like Claire's. I think if this was written in 1st person, it would have been a lot better. Like alternating chapters between Doran, or however you say his name, and Claire. I think that it would have been a lot better that way, because the 3rd person and the internal thoughts just popping up in the middle of an action scene got on my nerves. But this book is about Claire and Doran, and they survived basically like an apocalyptic thing where some sort of airborne thing was going around, and people turned into essentially like zombies, and they're having to survive. So this is a straight up survival story where they're running around trying to figure out what's going on, trying to find Claire's sister Beth and all that stuff. And then the cliffhanger at the end of this book, oh my god, now I want to read the 3rd one, and I haven't even read the 1st one yet. So really good. And like I told you in the last clip, I'm going to be reading this book for April. So wanted to let you know that I am 50% into this book, and I'm listening to it on the audio because this is a very, very long book, and I did not feel like reading with my eyeballs. So I am listening to it at times by like audio by itself, but then I'm also like following along with my eyes when I feel like picking it up and actually reading it and listening at the same time. But it's just following Farah and her time in the world that she has found. What is it called? I don't even remember what it's called. There's just a lot going on in this book. So Spring Court all the courts. She is still trying to figure her relationship out with Tamlin after what happened in the first book, and she's with Rysand or however you say his name. She's with him still, and like it's just a lot going on right now. It's a lot, and I am enjoying the story, but this is a really hefty book. And typically with really big books like this, I don't always like the entire story. I don't know if this is going to be a 4-star like the first one was, or if this is going to be lower. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star for me at all, because it's just it's a lot. It's a lot. That's what and this is what happens with a lot of fantasy books for me, is that they're so long and they're so drawn out. There's a lot of world building in here. We are learning about Rysand or Rice. We're learning about his kind, since I don't even remember, like, that's the thing. I don't remember what type of fantastical thing creature he is, besides he has wings. That's all I know. I don't remember what type of creature he is, but we are learning about his kind a little bit more and about where he's from, and I am enjoying that part of it because he is one of those characters that I'm really intrigued to learn more about. I am also liking that we're learning about Feyre's powers that she has gotten and just about her journey with all that, but I like the side characters that we're getting in this book a lot more than I liked it in the first book. I'm more intrigued about the side characters for these people, for this book. All of Rysand's family, like Cass and Azriel, I believe is his name. I'm enjoying them. I want to know more about them more than I want to know about Feyre. Sorry. But yeah, so that's just where I'm at. I'm 50% into it, and I'm going to continue with it. Continue learning about what's going on in this world, because it is rather compact and it's a big world. And I know that a lot of people love this series, but if it doesn't pick up, I don't know if I'm going to continue on with this series. Let's just say that, because this is a big book, and the third book is even bigger. It's just a lot, okay? So, enjoying it so far. So far. That's what I can say about it. Okay, finished this mammoth of a book, and I'm giving it 3.75 stars. I'm going to be petty right now, okay? I'm going to be petty because I'm out of the sun. I'm going to be petty because the ending of this book just made me mad, okay? Made me so mad. I enjoyed the bond between Feyre and Rysand, whatever his name is, and then Tamlin had to come in and just like blow it all up because Tamlin is a little whiny tail. But Tamlin did it to himself, and I just have a lot of gripes about this book, specifically because of the length of it. It's way too long for me. I understand like the world building, I understand you have to meet all the new characters and learn about the past of Rysand's court and everybody that's involved and everything like that, but then there's like this evil king that comes in and does some stuff, and I'm just like, there was just too much stuff. There's too much stuff. And I believe that a lot of it could have just been taken out. And like I said, it's more world building than anything. And I particularly don't really like world building stories because they just kind of go over my head. And honestly, I don't really care about that part of the book. I enjoy more of like a character driven book, which this is kind of a character driven book, but like I said, it has a lot of world building in it, and sometimes world building just goes straight over my head, and it did in this, and half the time I wasn't paying attention because of the world building that was happening. But I really do like Feyre's and Ryson's relationship. I honestly like how loyal Feyre is to everyone that she really cares about, even her sisters, even though she doesn't have a really good relationship with Nesta. And Elaine is just kind of like Nesta's pride and joy, and Feyre's always been the black sheep of the family. I really like that she is still loyal to her sisters. I really liked that aspect. And then what happened to Elaine and Nesta at the end has me intrigued to keep going on, but then I looked and the next book is even bigger than this one, like I said previously. So I don't know if I'll be getting to it anytime soon, because it's just like, but the ending, I kind of knew it was going to happen, honestly, because there was little hints here and there that it was going to happen, so I really wasn't surprised about it. And yeah, so 3.75 stars. Not a horrible book. I can see why everyone is like, oh my god, the second book is so much better, because you do get a little bit more steam than the first one. And I think that was because, from what I have read and from what I have heard, there's a lot more steamy scenes that were put into this book to make it not be YA anymore and more of a new adult / adult book, which I can see why people don't need to read it. Like, younger people don't need to read this, even though I was reading it, like, stuff like this when I was younger. Anyways, there's a lot of steam in here. There's a lot of angst. It's a slow burn, and that also gets on my nerves. Anyways, okay, so I have a lot of gripes about this, but overall it's not a bad book. And I might continue on with the series later on, but not anytime soon, because I have other stuff that I want to read, and this took up a lot of my reading time. So there's that. And the next book that I have was between, where am I going to put it? It's between these two books right here. As you can see, Arsenic and Adobo took the win. So I'm going to be reading a cozy mystery for the next buzzword, which is flavor, I believe. So Arsenic and Adobe it is. Halfway through this book right here, and I'm enjoying it. I like the family aspect. I like the main character. Her name is Lila, and this book is all about Lila's ex-boyfriend, who is a food critic, coming into her family restaurant and always causing them issues and saying bad things about the restaurant and just like being a jerk, and he ends up dying in the restaurant. So now there's a police investigation going on because there was arsenic found in his blood system, and people are thinking that, the police department, there's a detective, he's thinking that somebody from the restaurant killed Derek because Derek is a butthole. But then but then Lila and her best friend are going around town and talking to all these people, because one of Lila's aunts made a list of people who hate Derek, and now she's just going around town and talking to restaurant owners because Derek has said horrible things about all the restaurants in town, and they're all lies. So it's a fun time so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the characters. I really like stories like this, cozy mysteries that have a lot of family things going on. I love books that are set in a big family like this, especially when it's about another culture. I really like learning about different cultures, so this book is a fun time so far. And I'm listening to the audiobook while reading it as well, and it's just one of those feel-good books. I think it's funny, and all the characters so far have been very enjoyable. So that is my update. I will fill you in when I finish this book. Okay, so I ended up finishing this book and I gave it 4 stars. I thought that it was a really fun story. It taught me a lot about Filipino heritage and culture and food and family dynamics and all that, and I really enjoyed it. This book is about Lila. I didn't realize, like, the narrator kind of bounces back and forth between Lila and Lila, but the actual pronunciation of her name is Lila. And she is going back to her family's restaurant to help run it. It's not doing very well, so she's figuring that she could help out, but there is a food critic named Derek, and she is actually she dated him. So he is her ex, and he comes in and he writes really bad reviews about her family's restaurant, and then he ends up dying in the restaurant. So Lila is the first suspect, and she is trying to figure out the murder because she knows she didn't kill him. And when it comes out that he was killed by arsenic, the investigation finds out that a bag of rice in her family's restaurant, it has traces of arsenic in it. But this is so much more than just the murder mystery. There is a lot of talk about family in here, which I really love. I love a book that is surrounded by a big group of family, even if the family members aren't they're friends of the family. I really like that. I really enjoy that. I love a good story about that. The aunts in here are really good characters as well. They're really fleshed out. I like Leela. Her best friend and her have kind of their relationship isn't that good, but they're working it out. So I thought that was a real representation of some adult friendships, especially when one adult moves away and the other one feels kind of left behind. I also enjoyed the murder investigation, and Leela might find love, hopefully, soon. So there's a little bit of a love triangle. I usually don't like love triangles, but this one was really cute. So yeah, there's just a lot of good feels in here. I also really like that we got some recipes at the end of the book, because they all sounded delicious. All the food references in here made me so hungry. So enjoy this book. 4 stars. It was a good cozy mystery. I plan on continuing on with the series. Next, we are going to be talking about the next book that I'm going to be reading. So here's the graphic that I put up on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you need to, because you'll be able to choose which books that I read for this particular video. But I gave my followers these 2 choices, and this one, The Other Family, ended up winning, which I'm really excited to read because this has been on my shelf for a while, and it's one of my most anticipated books for, I believe, 2022. It's 2023. So I'm finally getting to read it. I'm really excited about this. It's a thriller, and all I know is that Nora, her handsome husband, and their 2 teenage daughters and their lovable dog move into a house and weird things start happening. So excited to read this. But yeah, I'll fill you in when I'm 50% into this book. Here to update you on this. I'm 50% into this book and I am really enjoying it so far. I have it on audio, so the narrators are doing a really good job. It's alternating chapters between Stacy, Nora, and this guy named Jacob. So the whole premise of this book is this family moves into this house where a murder occurred like 20-something years earlier, and it's a really weird situation because the family who's moving in, they have all their own secrets, especially the mom. And then this guy named Jacob comes along, and he knew the family that was murdered like some 25 years ago or something like that, a long time ago. And he was really infatuated with the girl that got killed. Her name was Annie, and one of the daughters to this family actually supposedly looks like Annie, and he is enamored by her. So kind of people watching, well, not kind of, people watching, stalking, that kind of thing. A lot of family secrets. There's something going on with Nora. We don't really know. I can't really trust her all that much. And then Stacy, her older daughter, we just found out something about her. This guy named Leon in here, he is around Stacy's age. She's a junior in high school. He's a senior. And I don't like him. I don't like him at all. He's one of those that knows everything. And he knows things that you don't know and then pops them on you at unexpected times. And he's just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable a little bit. There's a lot of red flags going on there. And his parents, Heather and Jules, they are a little odd as well. So there's a lot of oddness. There's a lot of odd people in this book, but I'm liking it. It's keeping me interested. And when I got to the 50% mark, literally, I was like, okay. I don't know where this is going at all. I am completely confused, but that's awesome. So I'm reading The Other Family. Well, I'm reading it I'm listening to it. There we go. So I'm listening to it, but I'm also like using the book to read it too. But just while I, you know, do my job today, I plan on just listening to the rest of this on here. But I just wanted to point out that Lennon, Stacy's boyfriend, is creepy. Like, red flags are just going off left and right. He is very controlling and has a tracker on Stacy's phone and knows exactly where she is all the time. And he's 18 and he's already doing this. It's just really freaking weird. I think there's a lot of parallels going on here that we don't know about yet between like Stacy and Nora, Stacy's mom, with Lennon and somebody else in here too. But it's just really getting on my nerves. Like, Lennon, come on, dude. Come on. Like, he is a piece of work. But anyways, I just want to stop and say that. It says I have 38 minutes left on this, so I should finish this today, and I should give you my final thoughts on this book. But I just wanted to say that. Like, come on, dude. Nah. I finished it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. The ending left me wanting more, because the whole mystery of this is to figure out what actually happened to the family that died in the house before Nora and Keith and her two daughters, or their two daughters, came to this house. It has this mysterious past where this family was murdered. Nobody knew who killed them. Nobody knew how they died. Nothing like that. But then you find out what happened, and then it just stops. And so this was going to be a 4-star, right? But then the ending happened, and then it just left off where it did. And I was like, come on. I wanted, like, we need to find out, like, how Stacy handled the situation and how Nora handled the situation and how the whole family dynamic is going to be after they find out what's going on. And it just stopped. And I also felt like Stacy's boyfriend, I don't understand. I mean, I get why he was there, but the whole other family, Jules and Heather and their daughter Courtney, they were just like fillers, right? You need fillers, but they didn't really do anything for the story besides annoy Nora, which I understand because they annoyed me too. And Keith, Nora's husband, he was just kind of there too. Like, a lot of these characters were just there. Piper, Stacy's younger sister, and Nora's youngest daughter was just there too. They didn't really have anything, they didn't have any substance for the story, if you get what I'm saying. So I feel like some of the characters that are in here didn't really need to be in here all that much. I don't know. Just kind of left unsatisfied by the end of it. If it had like 50 more pages, I believe that this would have been like a perfect 5-star probably, or at least a 4-star, like a 4.5 star, something like that. But just kind of left me underwhelmed a little bit. But yeah, so the next two, I am unprepared. Hold on one second. Okay, the next two choices were The Eye of the Shitstorm by Jackson Ford. This is the third book in the Tegan Frost series. Or The Ice Coven by Max Seek. And the winner is Ice Coven. Ice Coven won. So this is the second book in a series. I believe you can read it as a standalone. I'm hoping so. It's a crime thriller, maybe a horror, but I think it's more of a thriller than anything. And all I know is that this investigator named Jessica, she's trying to find missing influencers and also determine who has been murdering all of these other women. And then she finds out that they are attached to something called the Ice Coven. It's a cult. So it's a culty mystery thriller detective story, and I'm super excited about it. So I will be reading this book next, and it's floppy. I like floppy paperbacks, so I'll be reading this one next, and when I'm 50% in, I'll let you know how it goes, or how it's going. So after a month and a half of reading this book right here, I finished it last night. I'm giving it 3 stars. This was a very slow literary thriller, crime thriller, and it took a while to get through. It's very dense as well. There's a lot of words on the page, okay? A lot of words on the page, but this is about a detective named Jessica and a girl dressed up in a manga costume has ended up dead. And then Jessica and her team start realizing that all of these different murders and this one missing girl named Lisa is connected to the girl that was found dead on the beach. And it just takes you through the entire detective aspect of trying to figure out what the crime is. It also takes you through a lot of Jessica's internal monologues of what has happened in the past. I still don't really understand what happened in the past because it didn't explain it all that well. There's also a little paranormal twist in here. It could be psychological as well. But it was very, very slow, and it was a lot packed into a book. But some of it didn't need to be there. Like, it's a crime thriller, and you got a lot of the detective work in here, like I said, but there was just a lot of like internal monologues, side things that happened. The author described every single little thing in the setting as well. So it was one of those books, and I sometimes get bored with those books, as I did with this one. That's why it took me a little over a month. But then about the last 140 pages really picked up, and that's why I didn't give it a 2, because I really enjoyed the last half of this book, or the last quarter of this book, I could say, because it was just action packed. There was a lot of things happening that wrapped up the case. There was about 2 twists in here that I was not expecting whatsoever, and it surprised me, and I enjoyed those twists. So it's not a bad book by any means, but it leans more literary than I usually go for my crime thrillers. But yeah, so it's a series. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the series just because the writing style is not my absolute favorite. So there's that. So the next 2 books that we have are right here, and the winner of these 2 books was The Bone Keeper. So the buzzword for, what is it? I'm behind, but the buzzword for this month is body parts. So bone is getting it, and I've heard that this is it says he'll slash your flesh, your bones he'll keep, the bone keeper's coming, and he'll make you weep. So I mean, it's pretty, I think it's going to be a pretty intense book, and it's about 4 teenagers who went exploring in the woods trying to find the home of the bone keeper, and only 3 returned, and now a woman is found wandering the streets, and then a body turns up. So I've heard it's very fast paced. I have seen kind of so-so reviews on this, but the reviews that I have seen that are so-so are the things that I actually like in my thrillers, because this is a thriller. It's kind of like a thriller horror, but more leaning towards the thriller aspect of it just because it is so gruesome. But I'm very excited to get into it. I also have the audiobook on Scribed, so I'll be listening to this as well. That's my update. See you at 50%. So I'm a little over halfway through this book, and so far it's pretty interesting. We are following what is her name? We're following a detective. I can't remember her name. Louise. Following Louise as she is trying to figure out all of the murders that keep happening. There was this young girl that showed up on the street, and she was beaten and she was starved, and something traumatic had happened to her. So Louise is put on the case, and then they keep finding all these dead bodies that keep popping up. But the bodies are placed in positions where they think that rituals are being taken place, like human sacrifices. And also there is an urban legend that goes around the town about the bone keeper, And all of these murders have the same, like all of these murders have been done in the same way as the legend has always said. So they're trying to figure out who this bonekeeper person is, if it's actually a person, if it's a ghost, if it's a demon, whatever it is, they're trying to figure it out. The girl that got away, she wasn't supposed to. She was the first person that's ever gotten away from the bonekeeper or from this killer. And they're just trying to figure out, like, they're trying to help her piece all of her memories back together, and they're just trying to keep people safe. And also, they come across this one shack in the woods that is supposed to be the bonekeeper's house or dwelling, but somebody has burnt that down. And then they find a completely, like, it's a complete grave site. So they know that they're on the right track, and that's where I'm at right now. This book is rather slow, but it's a crime thriller, sort of horror-y. It's got some horror elements to it as well, but it's a crime thriller that is following the investigation. So there's a lot of detective work in here, which I'm actually enjoying. So the slow pace of this book is not bad for me. I'm actually enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying learning the whole process that they're taking, that her and her partner Shipley are taking to follow this murder, to try to figure out who this murderer is, and to try to answer a lot of questions about this urban legend that has been in their town since they were small. And you're getting little flashbacks here and there of Louise's own life when she was younger. We know that her parents are dead and she does not have any siblings, but something happened to her when she was younger, and we're slowly putting the pieces back together. I believe I know what's going on, but I'm not going to say because I don't want to ruin anything, but I think I know what's going on. So just wanted to fill you in on this, let you know I'm halfway through it, and I plan on finishing it up this weekend. Today is Friday. I'm almost off work. But yeah, we will see. We'll see how it goes. Ended up finishing this book. I am giving it 3.5 stars. The twist at the end caught me off guard. Wasn't expecting it. This is following, like I said previously, Louise and her team of detectives. And they're trying to figure out if this urban legend in the town is a real person. Is it a ghost? Is it a demon? What is it? So it's got some paranormal stuff in it. I wouldn't say it's a paranormal book by any means, but it has those vibes, you know. But I can't go into much of this book without spoiling anything for you, because the last time I checked in with you was the halfway point, and then it just like all over the place. I will say that this book took me a while to get through. Sorry, y'all, my hair is crazy. It took me a while to get through because it is a slower paced book. That doesn't mean that it's a bad book by any means. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. But it was just one of those books that took me a little bit to get through. Louise has a lot of internal monologue happening, and she's working through a lot of trauma of her life, and you figure out what that trauma is. You also kind of see like a culty vibe going on in here too. And that culty vibe kind of took away from the overall impact of the Bonekeeper for me. So I didn't really enjoy that part of it. Usually I really like cult books, but in this one it just didn't work for me all that well. But otherwise, the detective story, following a detective, following how they get through all of these crimes that are like, all these dead bodies just keep happening. They keep popping up, and we also find out who Caroline is. Caroline was the girl that was in the hospital that got away from the Bonekeeper. So everything just ties really well together. But like I said, there were just a few things that stuck out to me that didn't work for me, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I will continue on with this author. I like their writing style, although it was a little slow, and at some points it was a little redundant. But otherwise, I think this is a good book. It would be it would be a book for people who enjoy true crime related fiction as well as detective related fiction, and you also get like a little insight on the actual killer themselves. So yeah, and if you like a little bit of a spooky dooky urban legend twist to it, I think you might really like this book, so pick it up. So the next one are these right here, and the winner of those was The Family Game. So this was all about games. Game is in the title. This is also the Literary Dead Book Club pick for the month of October. I know that I was supposed to read this in September, but it's already October. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind. But I am at 84 pages already, and this is a story that is following a woman named Harriet, but she goes by Harry, and she is British, but she is engaged to an American, and he has an estranged relationship with his family to the point where he doesn't even speak to many of them. He still talks to his sister. And Harriet, or Harry, she is an author. She just soared to the best-selling, like the top best-selling author, and she's living it. She's living it up. They meet, her and Edward, and they fall in love and they get engaged, and now she's meeting his family. But the twist in this story is that the father, Edward's father, has a secret, and she receives a tape from him that is supposed to have a book on it, but it actually talks about a murder, and this is all in the synopsis, by the way. Talks about a murder, and she has to try to figure out what's going on before somebody else dies. So that's kind of where I'm at in the book right now. 84 pages in, that's where I'm at. She just got the tape recorder. She's trying to figure out what's going on with this family because they're really odd. Like, they are a very affluent family. They're billionaires, but there's just something going on with them, and they're all really pushy, and Edward is sending up some red flags, like left and right. Like left and right. Sending up the red flags completely. So I'm enjoying it so far, even though I'm not halfway through yet, but I wanted to let you know that I am 84 pages in already. I started reading it last night, and if I have anything else to tell you, then I will fill you in at the 80% mark. But this is, or at the 50% mark, but this is also going to be in the Literary Dead Book Club pick for October. Don't hate me, okay? I'll see you soon. Hello. I'm sitting out here on my back porch because it feels good today. So, I finished this book. I'm giving it 4 stars. It's very, very good. The red flags were just going off the entire time in this book. Harry really wants to be in Edward's life, but like, I didn't trust him from the very beginning, and by the end of it you see why you don't trust him. But there's just a lot of gaslighting, there's a lot of manipulation in here, and there's something that happens with Harry and him that like intertwines her with his family straight up. I don't want to spoil it, but you know. And all like the family game, like this, the title of this book is very fitting because this family just plays a whole crap ton of games, whether it's mind games, whether it's actual like family games that are really weird to the average person. There's just a lot of stuff that goes on in here, and it's twisty and it's turny, and it kept me intrigued, and I really enjoyed it. But I am giving it 4 stars just because I knew what the twist was before it even happened. I guessed it way before. It didn't ruin the story for me or anything. It was just one of those things in this type of book. You don't want to guess it, but when you do guess it, you're like, I told you, heifer, like you should have listened to me a long time ago, you know. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it if you like twisty turny mind psychological thrillers. I would recommend this book. It's also kind of like a domestic psychological thriller because there is a family involved. So if you were into those type of books, I would pick this up. It is very entertaining, and the family is like, why would you want to be married into this family besides the money aspect? I don't know. She said she loved him, but like, I don't get it. I didn't ship them. I didn't ship them at all. And I don't think you're supposed to, but I did not. So that is that for this book. The next two books on the list are these two books right here for the October picks. The October buzzword is witch. So I picked something that had, or no, was it magic? I think it's magic. So I picked a Little Town Big Magic, and then also picked one that has witch in it, because you know witches do magic and stuff like that. And the winner of that was the witch one. I don't remember the name off the top of my head right now because I don't have it in my hands, but it was a witch not to wed, or something like that. Anyways, we're gonna read that for October for the Buzzwordathon, and I'm so excited. But yeah, just wanted to fill you in and let you know. Ended up finishing this. Yeah. Alright, here to update you on this. I'm halfway through this, and I just wanted to let you know I am very much enjoying it. I was not expecting it to be I read on the back that it was like a paranormal, you know, but I wasn't expecting it to be so magical, like have a lot of magic in it, as well as like supernatural creatures, some paranormal creatures going on. Violet is a magicless witch, and she is also a triplet, and her family is of higher stature. Her grandmother is like the prima witch, like the highest witch that you can get. She is supposed to be taking over the role, like, since Violet is the first daughter born out of the triplets. Wow, she's the oldest triplet. And she's supposed to have the strongest magic of them, but she doesn't have any magic. So it's gone to her sister, to the next one. But then he is the alpha of the North American pack. He's a wolf shifter. And there's a lot of other different shifters in here, so it's not a traditional like werewolf thing going on, or there's vampires, there's wolf shifters, there's bear shifters, there's lion shifters, there's all these different types of shifters, and they are in one pack together, depending on the region that they are in the world. So it is very interesting so far. It is a second chance romance. It's kind of hate to love as well. When they were younger, they were in a relationship and something happened to where their relationship didn't work out. Violet doesn't like Lincoln at all because of what happened. She doesn't trust him, and she's one of those people that she doesn't trust a lot of people. So when she sees him again, she's not very happy about it. But now they are doing a fake dating situation because they are both in the run to, like, you have to get married, or if you don't get married, the council people are going to pick a person for you. So they're at that age where they are having, like, they're being forced to get married. So they're fake dating to try to save some time. And you can tell that they still have a lot of feelings for each other. Violet is very, she's got a mouth on her. She tells you how it is. And I like that in my heroines. And he is very, like, brooding, but he's also very sarcastic, and he has a darker sense of humor. And towards Violet, he is very soft towards her. So you know that I'm all over that. And I like all the side characters so far. There's just a lot in this book that I'm liking so far. And I hope that it continues on. There hasn't been a lot of steam or anything like that. There's been some angst in here, but it's mostly them, like, they're just now together halfway through. So it's a slower burn as well. And typically I don't like slow burns, but in this one, it's really cute. There's a good sister dynamic in here. There's a good best friend dynamic in here. There's just a lot of good things that I am liking so far, and I was not expecting to. So that is where I'm at. When I finish the book, I'll let you know how I feel. Here to update you and let you know I finished Not the Witch to Wed, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I thought that it was a really cute book. It was fun. It was more of a rom-com than anything, and I like rom-coms. It had a lot of good magic in it. It had a lot of creatures in it. There were a lot of really good relationships in here, like friendships, and family was really close in here. Violet is considered a magicless witch, and she is a triplet, which is very, very rare in their world. She is also the oldest, so she is supposed to take over for her grandmother, who is the prima witch. But since she doesn't have any magic, her sister Rose, who is the second oldest, is trying to take her place. But throughout this book, you see Violet actually come into her magic, her magic is really cool. And she is also very outspoken. She doesn't take any crap from anyone, which I really like in my heroines. She's just very brash, and she's very loving. She's very loyal. There's a lot of good qualities in here, but she also has a hard time believing in herself because she never really has had a reason to, so she thinks. And then there's Lincoln. He is the North American alpha. He's a wolf shifter, and in this book it's not just wolves that are in the pack. There's like lions and tigers, and there's an eagle in here as well. So it's a really cool, different type of shifter that was in here that I've never read about before. The banter in here is really cute. Some of the dialogue that's in here is a little overdone, trying to be funny, and sometimes it was just like, okay, come on, like, we can move on. That's the joke that we've heard like the entire time. Instead of calling people bitches, they called them witches, you know, that joke. Lincoln was constantly like referred to as a dog because he's a wolf shifter, and there was like doghouse jokes and stuff like that. So it's kind of like one of those books where the humor in here felt a little young and immature sometimes, but overall it was a really cute book and I liked it. I will continue on with the series. The next book is about Rose. She, like I said, she is the middle sister, and she's gonna, like, I think the second book is gonna be completely different than this one, because Rose's personality in here is very balls to the wall. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do all the time, and I am a force to be reckoned with, you know? Violet was kind of like that, but Rose was the really like straight-laced, like type person. So I will say that the friendship groups in this book really made it for me too, and I just enjoyed it. So 4 stars. Not a horrible book by any means. Low angst, but low steam. You get some steam in here, but once the steam starts happening, the chapters normally just cut off. So that is that. That's that book. Enjoyed it. The next 2 books that I chose have the buzzword for November is good. So I chose these 2 books, and this one ended up winning, The Good House. I have the audiobook for this. Very excited about this. This has been on my radar for a really long time. Totally switching it up and going towards the horror. This is supposed to be about a haunted house, and it's supposed to be very dark. It's supposed to be very beautifully written, and I am very excited about it. Heard nothing but really good things about this book, and I am finally glad that I am diving into this author too. Heard, like I said, heard nothing but fabulous things about this book. So I'm gonna start reading this, and I will let you know when I'm 50% into this book. And to fill you in and let you know, I am 50% into this book. This book is a hefty one. Halfway is 240 pages, because this is over 400-page book. Math. And I will say that this is a very slower horror. You slowly get to see the horror of this book. It has some, I'm getting some paranormal. It's a haunted house, obviously. Some paranormal, some supernatural, some magic, also real life horror, and then the twist that's in here that I just got to, I was like, what? Like, did that really just happen? I literally was like that in bed last night, because I'm getting through this book really quickly. I'm listening to it on audio. The narrator of this book is awesome. I love all of the different accents and just the way the narrator's presenting the story. But we're following a family, and the family has had this house for a really long time, but Angela moves back into the house with her son and her estranged husband as well. And something happens to her son on the 4th of July. And as the story progresses, you get stories from other people in the neighborhood about the specific house and about the past of the specific house, because there is talk about hoodoo and voodoo, and Angela's grandmother was I'm gonna assume a priest, like a priestess maybe, but the town knew that she was a medicine woman. So there are generational traumas in here. There is a lot of talk about dysfunctional families. There is a lot of talk about teenage life, how teenagers keep secrets, and now Angela has found out about her son's secrets and has found out that they are a lot of the reason of what happened to her son as well. I'm not going to tell you what happened to her son because I believe that's a little spoiler, but yeah, it does say healing magic, so I was not wrong about that. But this small town has a lot of secrets, and what's going on in this house is actually happening across the town as well, and Angela has figured that out. It's been happening for generations and like years and years, you know. So this is a very slow horror, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the history of Angela's family, the history of the house itself, the history of the land. I'm enjoying all of it, and yeah, this book is really good. It's written very beautifully as well. There are trigger warnings for racism in here. There are also trigger warnings for drug and alcohol abuse in here. There's trigger warnings for mental and emotional abuse, spousal abuse. So there's a lot of different triggers in here that if you need to look into, they're out there for you. But I'm enjoying this book, y'all. I'm enjoying it. I can't believe it took me this long, like, to actually start reading this book. So thank you for picking it, and I will continue with this. But just know that the twist around the 50% mark set me into my own little world. And I was like, I have to continue reading this, but I'm halfway through and I need to fill you in on it first before I keep reading it. And it was late. So I'm going to continue reading this, and I will let you know how I feel about it at the end, or if something else just happens and I just have to talk about it. But I will fill you in a little bit. So, wanted to fill you in and let you know that I finished this book, and I'm giving it 4.5 stars. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5 star is because some of the parts in here I felt kind of dragged the story down a little bit. There were also some scenes in here that I didn't think were particularly relevant for the story itself. But overall, this book was beautifully written. It is creepy, heartbreaking, but also has a lot of like fight in it too, because we are following this family who has been cursed for a really long time, and the present people, Angela, Corey, and her husband, Tariq, and Tariq are having to deal with the consequences of Angela's grandmother's past. Angela's grandmother is Haitian, and she is also a voodoo practitioner, and something that she has done in her past, which you see in this book, cursed the entire family, and Angela and them are having to face the consequences of that and try to get rid of the thing that is haunting this family pretty much. You learn a lot of history in this book, which I really enjoyed. I love learning different cultures. Haitian culture is one of those cultures that every time I read about it, I just want to learn more and more and more, and I went down a very deep rabbit hole of all of the different things that were talked about in here. You have good spirits, you have evil spirits, and an evil spirit is haunting this house, and they're trying to get rid of it. But it was like I said, it It was a really, really good story. It kept me captivated the entire time, even though it did drag it sometimes. The audiobook is fabulous. I really enjoyed the audiobook. The narrator did a fabulous job with all the different accents and the different character voices and everything. So I would highly recommend this book if you are wanting to read it. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're looking for a good haunted house story. This is the way to go. Here are the next 2 books that I'm supposed to read, and I'll let you know which one my Instagram followers pick. Wanted to fill you in, let you know I'm halfway through Dead Silence. I'm listening to it on audio while I read with my eyeballs as well. And this book is pretty intense so far. It is following this crew of astronauts, and I don't really know what they do. I know that they are on a ship and they go around and they fix satellites, I believe. But that's really all I got. And the main person in here is Claire, and Claire is the team lead for this ship. She's been in space for 8 years. She was an orphan when she was younger. She's got a lot of things going on. She has PTSD. She also has something going on where she hallucinates, and she has done bad things in the past while she has been hallucinating. So that's why she doesn't want to be near people. She doesn't like Earth. She doesn't have family. And the company that she works for took her in when she was a small child. So there's just some things going on with Claire. Claire's not a very reliable source of information. But then you also have her crew. And again, like I said, she's the team lead of her crew. And they find this spaceship. It was a luxury spaceship called the Aurora that went missing almost 30 years ago. And it's supposed to be like a high class, very luxury spaceship. And they find it at the edge of like the perimeter that they're not supposed to go out of. So they go out of that perimeter, and they realize that everybody that was on board the Aurora is still on board of the Aurora almost 30 years later, but something happened to them, and they're now investigating what happened to them. And they're coming across like video clippings and recordings of what happened on board, and it's pretty scary to think that something like what happened on board of the Aurora happened, and they don't know what's going on. And now 50% into this, the crew, like Claire's crew, is actually having hallucinations as well, they think. So there's something going on the Aurora, and something happened to all of these people that were really rich. They had a lot of money, they were very wealthy, and the whole reason why they put all these people on a ship, like people paid to be on the ship, the only reason that they were doing it is to prove that you can live in space, because Earth is not suitable to live on at the moment, and they're trying to figure out a way to live in space safely, and they were trying to do that, but then the ship just came up missing one day. So that's basically the premise of this. I'm trying to still figure out what's going on. I have an idea, I think, because one of the like quotes on the back of this book is saying that it's a mix of a space odyssey with horrors of Alien, like the movie Alien. So okay, maybe it's like a Parasite. You know that one movie that Ryan Reynolds was in, and he died within like the first 5 minutes of that movie? I can't remember the name of it. I'll put a picture up if I can find it, but it kind of reminds me of that too. God, what was that movie? Is it Inception? I don't remember. Anyways, like I said, I'll put a picture up if I can find that movie. But yeah, so oh yeah, it's kind of creepy, and I'm enjoying it so far. Sci-fi horror. I like sci-fi horror. I like weird stuff when it comes to like this kind of stuff, but I also like to listen to it. So there we go. The narrator's doing a really good job as well, and I'm interested to learn more about the characters. There's a really sweet guy. There's this one douchebag. He's the pilot, and then there's this, is he a psychiatrist? He might be like a psychiatrist on board. And then we have this really young girl who is terrified of space, but she's in space for some reason. Then we have Claire. Those are the characters that are in this book. Yeah, I did not finish this book by the end of the year. Today is January 2nd. So I did not complete the challenge that I wanted to complete, but we're still going to do this and we're still going to finish this video. So just wanted to fill you in and let you know when I'm finished with this, I will let you know my final thoughts and we'll close out this video since it's been going on for forever. Technically since last year. Literally. This video has been going on for a whole year. But you wouldn't know, I mean you would know that. Whatever, bye. I am here to finally fill you in on Dead Silence and in this vlog. So Dead Silence I ended up giving a 3.5 star. This was technically the first book that I rated in 2024. And I'm giving it a 3.5 because the twist that happened and then the reveal that happened and all that kind of stuff kind of let me down a little bit. Like this was actually going to be like a pretty high 4 after I talked to you because the way that it was continuing and everything. But then, like I said, the twist and the big reveal happened and it kind of let me down a little bit. So I dropped it to a 3.5. This book is creepy. This book has an atmosphere that is just, if you ever thought about going to space, maybe you want to read this book first just to get like an atmosphere about what space actually is and stuff like that, because I'm not interested in space, like going to space anymore and stuff like that. Not that I ever was, but the atmosphere in this book was spot on. The characters in here, Claire is not a very reliable character, and that put more like adrenaline in the book itself because you didn't know if stuff was real. You didn't know if it was her hallucinations that she was having. You didn't know if it was ghosts. You just didn't know. And then one of the very ending scenes, everything is, like I said, revealed and you're finally like, oh wow, okay. So it's a mix of a bunch of stuff in this book. It is very, very sci-fi. Obviously they're in space. Something's happening. You don't know what's going on with the ship. And like I said, you can't really trust anyone either. And it's just one of those books that was like claustrophobic, very atmospheric. Had my heart bumping a lot because I was reading the audiobook. The narrator for the audiobook did a really good job. She brought Claire to life, honestly. And it was a pretty decent book. Not one of my absolute favorite space books, but it was pretty decent. And yeah, if you want to read it, pick it up. But just letting you know that this is the end of this video, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you for everyone who participated in this and voted on books for me to read for the Buzzwordathon for 2023. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do another video, and I actually have already started the Buzzwordathon for 2024. So we're gonna do another year-long video in 2024. If you're interested, please follow me on Instagram so you can vote on those books. But otherwise, I enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next video that's coming up very, very soon. Bye.